Before we begin this episode, I want to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over on patreon.com/bitterbrownfems, especially Cristian Galindo, Evelyn Preciado, Cassandra Tapia. Y'all are the best. Y'all are in our BFF tier, and y'all have been holding us down for a while, so love you guys. If you want to help support this podcast and, continue production, feel free to throw us $1. That'll get you some posts, some archival posts of the last 8 years or so. $5 gets you video episodes of all the new stuff that's coming out. $10 will give you an extra episode every month. So yeah, go ahead and go to patreon.com/bitterbrownfems. The link is in the description. All right, let's start the show. Let's do it live. Hola, hola. It is Ruben coming to you from Portland, Oregon. And this is Bitter Brown Femmes, the podcast where we dismantle shit while talking shit. Today, it's just me. And this week's recession indicator is the fact that Kanye West issued an apology in the Wall Street Journal. Uh, I want to say it was just about anti-Semitism. I mean, that was a big portion of it. He was like apologizing for being anti-Semitic. But he like basically apologized for like 25 years of wrongdoings, by saying that like the car crash that he was famous for, that he made a song about, and Through the Wire in his first album, that car crash triggered his bipolar disorder, and that he's been, in and out of bipolar disorder for the last 25 years, and especially in the last few years where he um said and did and promoted a really hateful rhetoric, particularly anti-Semitism, but also anti-blackness, right? So this is a man who made a song called Hail Hitler. He, did sold Nazi merch, called himself a black Nazi, said that slavery was a choice. And overall aligned himself with white supremacy to the point that even like Kim Kardashian's racist ass, out of all people, separated herself from him. Um, and this whole men like blaming mental illness on like being a horrible human is just such a tired trope. Like, there are a lot of bipolar people in this world, mentally ill people in this world, and they don't go and incite violence against marginalized groups. Like, cry me a river. But it's a recession indicator because his ass is going broke. And he needs image change. So he probably hired some like publicist to change his image. And I don't know why they chose the Wall Street Journal out of all places to promote this apology. That is probably anti-Semitic in itself. It's based on this like anti-Semitic idea that like Jewish people own like banks and the money in this world or whatever. So that's kind of wild that he chose the Wall Street Journal. When like as a musician or like as a fashion person, like, he could have chosen another platform. There's like countless other publications out there. At the top of my head, I just think about like the New York Times bitch ass that's like always ready to handle like controversy and shit like that. Um, but he has like a new album coming out soon, and so this is definitely part of that bullshit. He's seeing the writing on the wall. Like, yes, Trump is in power. Yes, we're under like this right wing government that is leading us straight into fascism. But nobody, like, other than a bunch of fucking losers, nobody really thinks that like Trump is cool or that any of his ilk is cool. Like, even like right wing commentators on the internet, like the Nick Fuenteses of the world, and some guy who's named something like clavicular or something like that. Some Yeah, some right wing podcaster, even they're saying like, that JD Vance is a chud, which is like the opposite of like a Chad, which is like a hot, you know, aesthetically pleasing man, and that they wouldn't vote for JD Vance or like a lot of Trump's cabinet because they're all chuds. Like when the white supremacy, like it that you these people are promoting leaves them out of the picture, that's crazy. And like, so all that's to say that like Kanye's seeing the writing on the wall. That's why he's like abandoning like this right wing shit. The money must be tight right now. Can't say that I know very many people that listen to his shit anymore, at least not publicly, which is like, if you can't make, if like the public doesn't like you, that means you don't, despite how many streams you get, nobody's gonna go to your fucking tour. And that's how artists make money nowadays. Like, they don't make money off of streams. So like even if Kanye West had a number one hit, which he hasn't in years or whatever, hasn't even had a top 10 hit, like that would not be enough to pay the bills, right? So seeing the writing on the wall, seeing all the partnerships from companies that left him after like, his anti-Semitic rants, his anti-black rants, um, made him crawl and apologize to people. So, coming from I was once a diehard fan of Kanye West. I really thought he was a genius once upon a time. Um, but it's a big fuck you. Like, I think for me, there are certain things you can't come back from, and being like a hardcore public white supremacist like that incites this type of violence. Like, sure, there are people who can handle their repair. It's gonna take more than a letter. So fuck him. Yeah, and I'll whack towards Nicki Minaj too, because that's also somebody who I loved once upon a time, who I cannot go back to. And I think low key another one is Azealia Banks. Like, I know she's also struggling mentally, and she always has, but she crossed the line with me when she like started like promoting like Zionism and like thinking that Israel was cool and aligning herself with that because that's the only people who would fucking book her essentially. But the biggest thing in the news in the last week has been the murder of Alex Pretty by CBP, ICE agents essentially, which like by the way, like the the line between like CBP, which is like US Customs and Border Patrol agents, and ICE agents is like very thin, but the powers that be want us to clarify so as to blame the right department, but ultimately this all goes under fucking DHS, Department of Homeland Security and shit, right? And like their functions are very much the fucking same, except so supposedly CBP is supposed to like maintain the border while ICE gets to terrorize freely. So that's the technicality of it. And ultimately, this is all part of like the ICE, uh, state of things, like the ICE function, right? Um, Alex Preti um, was a nurse who was out in his neighborhood, essentially alerting his neighbors of when ICE came around. He was defending a woman who was being shot, who was being shoved by ICE, but these Border Patrol agents. By the way, Minnesota, not by, the border or whatever. Or rather, it's like at the Canadian border or whatever. They share a border with Canada, even though we know that like Canadian immigration is not the priority here. In Minnesota, it's primarily, people of color of all shades, Latinx people, African people, people of African descent, primarily Somalians. Um, and Alex Preti was ultimately trying to defend his neighbors. This is not the first time that actually Alex Preti had encountered ICE. Just a week before, he was blowing his whistle, trying to raise awareness about the fact that ICE seemed to have been pursuing a family with the intent to kidnap them. and he was blowing his whistle, making a ruckus, alerting his neighborhood. The ICE was there, and ICE uh, heard him. They incited violence against him, slamming him so hard that he broke a rib. So this hero, Alex Pretty, was um, injured when he was murdered. Mind you, he was uh, shot about 10 times. Um, and I just like I think about the fact that like how these fucking pigs, these murderous pigs, like overkill. Like we see that with Renee Good. How they shot her with so much malice. It was they were not in danger. They were merely threatened by her presence, and they shot her more than whatever it would take someone to justifiably prevent violence upon them, as they claim that she was threatening with her car. She was not, as all evidence points. What's even more infuriating about Alex Pretty's murder is that he was fully shoved in the ground. That man was defenseless. He had, I think it was up to 7 guys trying to restrain him. He had a concealed weapon in his back pocket, which was totally legal. He was licensed to carry that, and that is part of the law. So there is no, you know, ifs, ands, or buts about whether or not it was legal for him to carry that or if he was a threat. It was not a threat. He was legally allowed to carry that weapon. Um, and he was allowed to have it concealed. Minnesota allows that, and it is our Second Amendment right to, bear arms. Republicans try to claim that that's something they stand behind, but now all of a sudden we can no longer carry guns. So, their bitch asses are um, just talking out their asses. But even if he had it, he was allowed to carry it. He had nothing in his hands but his phone. He was recording the escalation by ICE agents against the people around him, his neighbors. And he died defending a woman. His last words were, "Are you okay?" to that woman. Who, by the way, like, before I forget, like, God, may she have, may she be safe, may she be held. I hope that she's not being persecuted in any way or form. I hope that she is safe and that she doesn't hold the weight of his death with her because it's not her fault. Ultimately, the people at fault are the people who murdered Alex Pretty, who are ICE agents, who we still do not fucking know, by the way, who the murderer was, because he was reassigned to a different area, not fired, not anything else. He is just pushed to a different state, quote unquote, for his safety, despite the fact that he illegally killed somebody. But we don't know who he is because he's concealed. His whole fucking face was concealed like a fucking coward. It has now been about 4 days since the murder of Alex Bretti, and we still don't know who his murderer was. There's still no justice. Um, and there's a lot of posturing from Democrats instead. We, because let me, like, backtracking it, just a few days, I think even hours before Alex Bretti was murdered, uh, you know, just hours before he was murdered, uh, Democrats unanimously sided with Republicans to increase ICE's funding, right? Mind you, at this point of the year when they voted, it was, late January. At this point, ICE had already killed at least 3 people on public record. It would later come out that actually, as of January 28th, that have killed about 7 or 9 people. Um, and have shot very many others. And those 7 to 9 people, uh, a majority of them were or are citizens. So for all these claims that their ICE is out here making us safer from this like big boogeyman of immigrants, that's not what they're doing. They're just here being fucking slave catchers. I don't even want to say Gestapo because again, the Gestapo got its ideas about how to persecute Jewish people from the way America was handling Jim Crow and the way that America handled slavery. So when we think of Nazis, I think that sometimes pushes the issue, makes it a European born problem when really it's like a colonial problem. The United States, as a colony, has never done away with this type of violence and um, this white supremacist state of doing things, way of doing things, which is to persecute people of color, to paint them as villains, right? When we look at like the newspapers of, around the Reconstruction era or right before, right, during slavery, when they were trying to catch black people, they would paint them as these ghouls, right, in order to make them seem inhuman. And similarly, we're seeing the current administration um, paint people of color as these violent folks. With recently, um, ICE arresting a black woman and using AI to make her seem uh, quote unquote uglier and to make her seem like she was resisting arrest and crying, when in reality that's not like what happened. And the unaltered images have been released and have shown how ICE has essentially manufactured consent by painting people of color as savage because it would align with people's biases, right? So all that is scary on its own, but it's wilder when they're turning on white citizens as well. Like, and a lot of people are waking up to it. Like we're coming to the point where people's whiteness won't protect them. And a lot of people did not, get activated during the last 16 years or so, 14 years since Black Lives Matter, I believe, where we all started kind of waking up to state violence on a more popular level. Like the term Black Lives Matter reached the zeitgeist in the 2010s, and there was enough educational material for everybody to get fucking hip to the fact that the police state is trying to harm us. But because it only harmed black people, it only harmed brown people, white people didn't care. And so we're here now to the point where all that has escalated to ICE uh, harming white citizens. And so people are waking up to that. Um, some people say better late than never. Sure. Whatever it'll take at this point for people to fucking get activated. I am not going to, I'm going to try not to scold people who didn't know for whatever reason. I have a beloved sister who also is now catching up to things despite me being who I am and always sharing all the fucking resources and everything. But her excuse was she was so busy with her life, 'cause she lives a very dramatic life that she didn't know what's up with the world. And now her kids are asking questions that she doesn't have answers to. And now she's trying to catch up. And fuck it. I'm going to accept that and I'm going to try to teach her. And similarly with other folks, you know, okay, welcome, girl. The United States has always been a fascist state and now it's turning on white people. Time to catch up, motherfucker. Um, And while you're at it, like stop. And part of like the waking up is like the Democrats are gonna do something. It's like, no, bitch, the Democrats ain't doing shit. Like 7 Democrats voted to expand ICE's budget. Another 7 voted to, even prior to this, it happened a couple weeks ago. Last year when they confirmed Kristi Noem, they got 7 other Democrats who supported um, confirming Kristi Noem, who is one of the violent voices behind the current state of things. She's the one spinning lies. She's her Trump Vance fucking the previous um ICE chief Greg Bovino, uh Stephen Miller, all these motherfuckers who called ICE who called Alex Preti a terrorist, saying that, he was armed and trying to harm folks, despite what we see on video. Like, that's the rhetoric that's being spit out, and that all these Democrats have supported, right? Because it's not only the seven Democrats who voted to expand ICE's budget, and not only the other seven Democrats who voted to confirm Kristi Noem, it is also the about 70 Democrats who thanked ICE just last year for all their hard work. So as you, the people around you are waking up, like, it is our duty to just slap them out of this idea that Democrats are gonna do shit about it, because they ain't doing shit, right? If they'd done shit, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, would have fucking kicked ICE at the fuck out of there immediately. But instead, we have at least two dead citizens and many others who were shot and arrested, all because they are defending their neighbors from illegal kidnappings and deportations. Speaking of Tim Walz bitch ass, whatever good faith he like got in people, because he, his time being running with fucking Kamala Harris as her vice president, and the ballsy demeanor he had against the Republicans at the time, whatever fucking good points, good faith he built up with people, like, is completely gone. Completely gone. Because he ain't doing shit for the people of Minnesota. He supposedly met with Trump to talk about, after Alex Preti's murder and after the city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota decided to go on a general strike and really showed out in negative 10 degrees weather. Uh, then Tim Walz finally had a conversation with Trump, supposedly, which we do not know any real details about. They just said both parties said it was real good and that they agreed to some things. Only then have things supposedly changed. So I say supposedly because there's been no tangible change other than the fact that Greg Bovino was fired or reassigned. Mind you, he retires very soon and replaced with Tom Homan, uh, who Tim Walz said would make ICE better. Bitch, listen, anybody who is just thinking about, just defunding ICE or training ICE or funding them to get training or changing leadership of ICE to make them a better establishment, like, you need to shut the fuck up. The fucking conservative, the baseline opinion about ICE should be to fucking abolish it. Like, we are so beyond like any type of like reform for that. We've been around that. And like, for people who are like, what if, who's gonna take care of the border or whatever? First of all, like, shut the fuck up, borders are fake. Second of all, like, we lived without ICE for most of our lives. If you're a millennial, like, fucking SpongeBob is older than ICE. How about that? How about big guy? Fucking SpongeBob is older than ICE. Like, Google's fucking older than ICE. Like, we've lived without this. Like, it hasn't made us safer. It has cost the lives of citizens. It has terrorized communities. And it stopped economies at this point. Like, Minnesotans are really going out there and like tearing shit up, as they should. Uh, calling on general strikes. Um, Before I forget, and in case you drop off from the podcast, like, there was already a general strike on Sunday, January 25th, but there's another general strike that Minnesotans are pushing for on Friday, January 30th. So don't buy anything. Don't go to work. Like, it's strike time. Go organize with your people. If you don't have people, find them. There's a chapter somewhere. Unless you're in the boonies, like real the fuck nowhere, your neighbor's not for 2 miles away, then maybe there's not nothing. Then maybe you can be the one to fucking start it. But there is somewhere you can join a march, a group to make you feel less lonely through this moment. And also to get organized, to help defend your neighbors. In Minnesota right now, one of the things that people are doing is honestly just getting to know their neighbors, building signal chats, which they alert each other on. They're like, hey, disturbance here. I seen patrolling here. Get your whistles, bitch, and let's like make some noise and dragging these people out. Like, it really is as easy as knowing your neighbors. But because again, the Democrats are not gonna fucking save us. Um, Tim Walz has also activated the National Guard. People thought that kind of like they've done kind of in Oregon. I don't want to give Oregon too much credit because in Portland, National Guard was called and like they were antagonistic force against protesters here in Portland when they were protesting ICE. Um, More than they were the neutral party that they were supposedly set out to be to keep people safe. But in Minnesota, the National Guard was called to supposedly keep people safe. But ultimately, it was a pacifying technique. These motherfuckers were giving out donuts and coffee to protesters. And that's one of those fucking techniques that uh, the military has used to pacify people, to get them to trust these authoritarian figures. And can be seen, even in states of war, when in Iraq, soldiers were taught to give candy to children during like candy hour or candy day or some shit like that. So in order to get them to trust them, in order for them to make it easy for them to terrorize their communities. So similarly here, they want to disarm people to make them trust the National Guard. So when they turn on them, like they're disarmed. And this happened as recently as in the 2020 protests when they were taking a knee with people and taking selfies and shit, and only for them to beat their asses later. Like, stop falling for that shit. Like, these authority figures are not our fucking friends. Um, and mind you, like the police was also supposedly sent out by Tim Walz and to like keep things safe or whatever. And instead, the police is also just arresting protesters straight up. Um, so just like get it out of your heads that like Democrats are gonna help us. And before I fucking forget to give his fucking um to smack Obama with this, like stop looking at Obama. Oh, because Obama's bitch ass sent a fucking letter about how like the situation in Minnesota is bad and it's showing that ICE is out of control or whatever. And it's like, who put them there, bitch? Obama. Like Obama's bitch ass put them there. Like ICE, created by George Bush in the wake of 9/11, etc., was, on the brink of getting defunded by the time Obama came around. Because again, the Department of Homeland Security mainly handled immigration prior to ICE. Obama then funded it and expanded its capabilities, expanded its jurisdiction, expanded its power. We are in this situation because of a fucking liberal president expanding on a conservative's fucking agenda. Get that in your fucking heads and get it in the fucking heads of people. There are a reason because by the time Obama left the presidency, the Latinx community specifically used to know Obama as a deporter in chief because he deported about 2 million people during his presidency. So by the time he gave it to Trump in 2016, Trump had a well-oiled machine that just needed Trump's cruelty to expand further. 2016 to 2020, Trump's cruelty and expanded upon Obama's expansion of Bush's shit. only for then for Biden to upkeep it during 2020 to 2024. Because let's be fucking real. Abolishing ICE, the slogan saying abolish ICE, fuck ICE, all that shit, it has people have been calling for that since this fucking organization was built. This is not new. So Obama had 8 years to dismantle it. Instead, he expanded it. Biden had 4 years to fucking, at the bare minimum, pull back its power. Instead, he expanded it as well. And now we're back to Trump, who's again going to insert his cruelty into the mix in order to make it what it is now. A bunch of fucking slave catchers. So disabuse yourself from this notion that Democrats have made anything better in this regard or will make anything better. We are not voting ourselves out of it. If you're one of those, if the only thing you can be bothered to fucking do in this fucking world is to be one of those bitches who's like, vote them out, blah, blah, blah. All right, bitch. Your one fucking job in this world is to only vote for people who say abolish ICE. And no, like, qualifiers after that. No, just abolish ICE, plain and simple. If that's all you're gonna do, if all you can do is put a little check mark in a fucking or fill out the little bubble to vote, then vote for somebody who's against ICE. That's fucking just fucking foundational there. And this goes for Democrats, across the board. Like, I also see some of you finger wagging liberals saying Kamala would have avoided this. I've already covered this a million times. No, she wouldn't. She ran on a fucking campaign that said she would have expanded border patrol. Like, the only difference is that your bitch asses would have been at home. Like, because she would have done it in a civil way, just like they did through the Biden era. And y'all didn't say shit while we were calling on all you bitches out for like, hey, Biden is deporting people. Biden is stopping like or making immigration here harder. So cut that shit out. Because these are things that Tim Walz, if he really gave a fuck about his people, there are things he could be doing to actually tangibly help. He could, have a rent moratorium, which means, stopping like evictions if people can't pay rent. There's a lot of people who are out of a job right now, never mind the economy before all this shit because it's been going down, but because, they might be immigrants or work with immigrants and business is slow is because they work with immigrants, don't have a job, or because they're immigrants themselves and they're afraid to get the fuck out of their house. Minneapolis City Council has already asked Tim Walz to do this, to sign a rent moratorium, and other state legislators have asked him to do this as well. So it's totally like legal. It's already been passed. He just needs to fucking approve it. So where's that rent moratorium? Tells Tim Walz. Do you really care about your people? Help them feel safe. Help them feel protected. Fucking rent moratorium. Second thing, he could suspend the return to office order for all state workers. Like, why do you want your state workers to be like subjected to all these in this feeling of unsafety? There's a lot of people of color who work for the state in various forms, right? Remember, the state is not just fucking cops, it's fucking pencil pushers on all fat on all sides of things that all departments that make things like parks run, public services run, and transportation, the better, city good, and they need to feel protected too. And they should be allowed to take part in the strike and the general withholding of making this like shitty economy work. If local businesses are already with like there's businesses across Minnesota, Minneapolis who are already not accepting like money. Like there's restaurants that are like, okay, like, all our services are free. You can tip us, and that's the money we're making. We're not contributing to taxes or blah blah. And that's fucking legit. Like if they can put their asses on the line like that, Tim Walz, if you're about it, if you can't fucking get ICE directly out yourself because you're bitch made, then allow your fucking constituents to fucking put in the dirty work by not going to work and instead being out and protesting this injustice. And stop allowing cops and the National Guard to help ICE. That's another thing you can do. You say that you're out there to create peace, but why is it that these National Guards don't turn on ICE? Why is it that they only fucking Adversaries to peace seem to be the people, seem to be innocent immigrants. Why isn't it that they're arresting or trying to control the people, motherfuckers who have face masks, full coverage, and guns in their hands? So that shit that he can do, like, rest in peace, Alex Prati. You're a fucking hero. Like, everybody who's ever spoken about you has just had the kindest words to say. You know, he was not only a nurse, an ICU nurse, but someone who helped veterans regain an ability to live, to survive. He helped people regain the ability to walk. He was out there protecting people with broken ribs, knowing full well he was a target. All these motherfuckers in the right thinking they're big fucking machos because, they think, beating down on women and minorities is gonna set them up. No, bitch, being a fucking real man like Alex Preti out here putting his ass on the line, literally getting murdered for his community, protecting women. That's what fucking real men do. That's what real community members do. That's somebody that's a real fucking Chad. Like, not like you fucking weak bitches out on the internet, like, you know, meme talking your way to podcast fucking endorsements by right-wing motherfuckers who are hopefully gonna be tried in Nuremberg style trials in the near future. And fuck you, ICE agents too, who signed up because they needed that extra $50,000 bonus, which isn't even going to come to you until like 2028 or 2031, I believe. You have to prove that you've been there a hot minute, like that sign-in bonus. Like, you ain't going to see that bitch. Your ass is going to be tried too as soon as this is not going to last forever. ICE is not going to last forever. The people's will is stronger. Your ass is not going to see that 50K. What you will see, if you're lucky, is a jail, sir. And if you're unlucky, you're going to see something worse. Like, another reason that I want to remind people that Democrats will not save you is because TikTok actually went down short, like hours after Alex Prati was murdered, and people started, sharing resources and information about his murder. TikTok went down and suppressed when it came up. It suppressed a lot of um, content that was talking about this, about Alex Preti, about ICE, and what to do, sharing resources. They also started banning the word Epstein, or like that would get flagged. And Instagram has also been doing this. Meta in general, like Mark Zuckerberg, don't think I forgot about your fucking Android robot looking ass. Like, fuck you too. You're also responsible for this mess. Forgotten about your fucking sins. Um, but TikTok, need I remind you that Biden forced the sale of TikTok to an American owner because of the political education that was happening on TikTok around Palestine. Hillary Clinton, Biden, and every other fucking Democrat who voted for this sale because they wanted out of China's hands in order to stop education about Palestine, on the behest of Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister. Um, that's what got us in here. They sold it to a fucking Zionist motherfucker who already owns a bunch of other shit like Paramount, Nickelodeon, um, and a bunch of other entertainment outlets. I'm blanking. I believe it's like Variety or the Hollywood Reporter. He owns the Golden Globes, all this shit. Um, they sold it to the Zionist ass. And so they wanted to make good with Israel because Israel matters more to them than their American constituents, their actual citizens. And so now TikTok has been used to even further the fascist agenda. And again, this was an alley-oop by the Democrats during a Biden administration when they had the power. So I don't want to hear a fucking word about how Democrats are going to save us because they can't even defend their own. On January 27th, on the evening of January 27th, Ilhan Omar, representative of Minnesota, was attacked by at one of her assemblies, one of her city assemblies, her public assemblies. Um, a man went up to her and sprayed some liquid on her. As of now, it's not been identified. I pray that it is nothing chemical solution that could poison her, and I hope she's being taken care of. But this is not like out of nowhere. Ever since Ilhan Omar was voted in to her position, she has faced all sorts of violent rhetoric. First by Trump for the first 4 years of her, the first years of her being in government, and then by the Biden administration, who tried to censure Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib when they were calling out the Zionism and the genocide, the Zionism by all of the government, and then the genocide being active by Israel. They were telling her to shut up, and then Trump was, calling her assaultive names that led people to regularly threaten her. There's there was Marjorie Taylor Greene, there was Kristi Noem, who would regularly like call up violence upon her, and now it's gotten close. Somebody sprayed her with something, and let me tell you that Ilhan Omar did not back down. She went up to that fucking little dick motherfucker, and was about to swing on him before. I'm not sure if it was her security detail or the citizens that were at her assembly tackled him and restrained him and then dragged him out. But Ilhan Omar was not some bitch made person who just stood there when somebody was trying to come at her. No, she came at this man ready to fucking throw down who was twice her size. And other than, progressives, there hasn't been shit said yet. And, this happened in the early evening of, well, it happened, I guess, in like, it would be like around 10 p.m. East Coast time. Um, But this is a long time coming. They were calling her anti-Semitic. They've been trying to get her out of government forever. They actually the Biden administration who launched an investigation into her finances as if she was like stealing or some shit. Meanwhile, like yeah, she's like rolling around like she's made more money now, but it's because she married a fucking a millionaire. Like, shut your whole ass up. Like. So remember, Democrats don't would rather have the progressive faction of their number be attacked than to support them because ultimately liberals want the same shit that these conservatives want. They just want it in a more nicer way because to them the there's a violence in speaking up in disrupting civility that is somehow worse than the atrocities that they're committing. Um, but the things that have made me less bitter is honestly seeing Ilhan Omar ready to throw hands because if folks like her can fucking, be out here fearless, that makes me hopeful. That gives me courage. Alex Pretty honestly gives me courage as well. Like, shout out to those folks. Also, shout out to the people of Minnesota and Minneapolis, like calling for general strike. Again, the general strike is January 30th. That's a Friday. If you need to buy shit, buy it beforehand. Don't stimulate the economy in any way that Friday. Don't go to work. Don't buy anything. Don't shop. Don't eat out. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I mean, the minute the least thing we can do is just not contribute to the economy that day, if we don't need to support this general strike. We are building. I feel like the momentum is we're being shown the way by Minnesotans who, I'm finding out like are so progressive as fuck. Like I didn't know that like I knew Minnesota's got down because I witnessed 2020 the George Floyd protest started there, which by the way, George Floyd, Renee Good, Alex Pretty were all killed in Minneapolis. Like in, you know, Renee Good only blocks away from George Floyd, and Alex Pretty only a neighborhood away from Renee Good. Like, and folks know how to show up for their community. They're out there protesting, supporting each other, feeding each other in, these freezing temperatures. There's been a blizzard going through, about 40 of the 50 American states, and they're still out there with each other. So the people of Minnesota have also made me less bitter. I'm also finding out like some history, like they voted LGBT folks to their government before it was cool. They were the only state to not vote for the demon that is Ronald Reagan, which in a way, so much of the modern atrocities we're living through are because of his bitch ass. And Minnesotans didn't vote for him. So shout out to them. Um, Shout out to, also people all over the states resisting. Something local for the people of Portland that I'm gonna post up is ways to join the fight in Portland to revoke the ICE permit. So I've mentioned this before, but in Portland, the ICE building was found in like breaking their like lease agreements basically, saying that like they can't hold people without trial or or hostage, or or they can't detain people there for like more than a couple weeks, and they've already been proven to have been doing that for longer times than that, which means they broke their lease. They're technically in like a commercial building, right? It's in like the middle of like this hospital area that also houses like lower income housing and a bunch of offices and shit like that. So much so that like it's such a inconspicuous building, or was, that like the people who had work around there didn't even know shit was around there. The people who lived across from it didn't know it was like there until the protest started. But because of that, their negligence and all the noise complaints that they're getting, and all the violence they're enacting on people, it's been proven that they're revoking that they're violating their permit. And so there's a real momentum right now in Portland to legally get them the fuck out of here, like through fucking commercial ways. So I'm gonna put a link to that on our social media. Um, just sign that if you're from Portland. Um, yeah, and I'm gonna put up some other resources like how to write to the Portland government about the situation. Um, so yeah, all those things are really making me less bitter, even though, the fascist state is really trying to come for us. So thank you for joining us. I hope that I gave you a moment of respite and joy, and a space to validate your anger. And I hope that you also get a little angry and then also go out and, try to help in whatever way possible. Whether that's writing, calling, protesting, like I said earlier, not buying shit. Like, yeah, we got this. All right, y'all. Thank you for joining me, and hope to see you next episode. Bye. All right. Before I leave, I want to get a shout out to our I Know Her level patrons over on patreon.com/bitterbrownfams. Uh, those patrons would be Fernando Peña, Selena Portera, Miranda E, Magdalena Saucedo, Ronnie Leiva, and Bianca Garcia. Y'all are real ones. You really help this podcast continue. If you want to help us produce this pod, feel free to join the Patreon on patreon.com/bitterbrownfans. All right. See ya.